Welcome to the Power Book of Podcasts. Unlock your potential with powerful book summaries that inspire personal growth and broaden your understanding of the world. Each week, we explore life-changing ideas, from leadership to mindset strategies to keys for happiness and success. Learn actionable insights to apply in your daily life. Join our growing community of thinkers and seekers. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button now. It's time to supercharge your mind with the Power Book of Podcasts.
Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're tackling the story of Microsoft. And of course, the man who built it, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, a true icon of the tech world.
We've got some great excerpts in the biography. Hard Drive, Bill Gates, and the making of the Microsoft empire.
Oh, that's a classic. It's packed with insights into his journey and how it shaped, well, everything, really.
Exactly. So we'll be exploring those pivotal moments, the decisions, the personalities, everything that went into creating this tech behemoth.
From those early days all the way to global domination. It's quite a story.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Bill Gates, the early years. Was he always destined for greatness?
Well, there are stories about him, even as a kid, just being exceptionally bright. Like, seriously bright.
Oh, yeah. Like what kind of stories?
Well, there's one about him, at 11 years old, completely wowing his pastor with his understanding of the Bible. I mean, not your average preteen, right?
Okay, 11 years old, debating scripture. That's impressive.
Exactly. So you start to wonder, was it pure, raw intellect, or was there something more?
Right, because you don't just magically become a tech genius, do you?
Well, his family background certainly played a role. His grandmother, Adele Maxwell, really encouraged his intellectual pursuits. It's like she recognized his potential early on.
So the classic nature-nurture combo. But I'm also picking up on a strong competitive streak, even in his younger years.
Oh, absolutely. Even in things like bumper cars or summer camp, Gates had this drive to be the best. It wasn't just about playing, it was about winning.
And that competitive fire, would you say? It became a key part of his leadership style later on.
Definitely. It was part of what fueled his success, but it also led to some, well, let's say interesting situations along the way.
We'll get to those. But first, let's talk about his school years. He attended Lakeside School, right? A private school with, at the time, one of the few computer labs around.
A pivotal moment, right? It gave him access to something that most kids didn't even know existed. And it wasn't just the computer itself, it was the culture at Lakeside. They encouraged experimentation, pushing boundaries.
So the perfect environment for a young, curious mind like Bill Gates.
Exactly. Imagine him and Paul Allen hacking away in that computer lab, forming the Lakeside Programmers Group. You can already see those entrepreneurial seeds being planted.
They weren't just learning to code, they were learning to what?
Yeah.
Think outside the box.
More like hack the box. They were finding workarounds, exploiting loopholes. It's almost a microcosm of what Microsoft would become.
It's funny because there's this story about Gates trying to take a break from computers at one point, wanting to be normal.
Right. It's like a fish trying to live on land. But of course, it didn't last. The pull of technology, the problem solving, it was too strong.
He couldn't escape his destiny. So then comes Harvard. You'd think, okay, now he'll settle down, follow the traditional academic path.
You'd think, right. But no, the bio suggests otherwise. He excelled, of course, especially in computer science. But there's this almost obsessive quality to his dedication.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, he was known to sleep on computer lab tables. He was driven by something beyond just good grades.
It was more than just an interest, it was an obsession. So this brings us to the Altair 8800 and Microsoft Basic. The foundation of their empire. Was it all sheer brilliance?
Well, there was definitely brilliance, but also a good dose of luck. The Altair sparked the idea for Microsoft Basic. It was this clunky microcomputer, but they saw the potential.
And they were willing to take a risk.
A huge risk. They had to create the software from scratch, and then, incredibly, Paul Allen had to write a crucial program at the last minute just to get it to work on the Altair.
What? At the last minute? Talk about pressure.
It's a classic what-if moment. If they hadn't pulled it off, the entire trajectory of Microsoft, maybe even the personal computer industry, could have been completely different.
Wow. Okay, so they had their software, they had a platform. What next?
Well, they packed their bags and headed to Albuquerque.
Albuquerque? Why Albuquerque?
It's a bit of a random choice, I know. But that dusty desert town became the unlikely birthplace of Microsoft. And the company culture in those early days, let's just say it was a mix of brilliance, youthful energy, and a bit of chaos.
I've heard the stories. Gates getting speeding tickets in his Porsche, all-nighter coding sessions fueled by pizza and soda.
Exactly. It was a different world back then. Less structured, more freewheeling, but they had this incredible intensity to their work.
Driven by Gates' ambition, that competitive spirit we talked about.
Absolutely. They were working long hours, pushing boundaries, blurring the lines between work and life.
But it couldn't have been all fun and games, right? I'm guessing there were challenges, conflicts, maybe even some growing pains.
Oh, definitely. But even in those early days, you can see the seeds of those challenges being planted, the seeds of what would eventually become, well, the Microsoft we know today.
Okay, so we've got this scrappy startup working out of Albuquerque, creating this groundbreaking software. But how do they go from there to becoming, well, Microsoft?
Well, that brings us to what is probably the most pivotal moment in Microsoft's history, the IBM deal.
The IBM deal. This is where everything changes, right?
Absolutely. This is where Microsoft goes from underdog to major player.
So set the scene for us. What was happening in the tech world at this time?
Well, IBM, the giant of the computing world, was about to launch their first personal computer, the IBM PC, and they needed an operating system.
And that's where Microsoft comes in.
Well, not so fast. Initially, it seemed like they were going with digital research and their CP/M operating system.
So how did Microsoft even get in the game?
There's this almost legendary story about Gary Kildall, the head of digital research, missing a meeting with IBM because he was out flying his plane.
Seriously, he missed the meeting of a lifetime because he was flying his plane?
Well, whether that's true or not is debated, but what is true is that IBM ended up going with Microsoft.
Talk about a missed opportunity for digital research. And a lucky break for Microsoft.
But it wasn't just luck. Microsoft didn't actually have an operating system ready at the time.
So what did they do?
They saw a gap, and they moved quickly to fill it. They acquired 86DOS, a CP/M-compatible operating system from another company.
They basically bought their way in.
Very clever.
Yeah.
And then they licensed it to IBM as MS-DOS, and suddenly they were the backbone of the IBM PC.
The machine that would change the world.
Exactly.
So one deal, and Microsoft's future is set. But I can't imagine it was all smooth sailing from there. They were working with IBM. The pressure must have been immense.
Oh, imagine the scene. Prototype PCs hidden in a sweltering supply room, nicknamed, wait for it, the fish tank. Programmers pulling all-nighters fueled by caffeine and, I'm guessing, a lot of pizza.
The classic startup grind. But this was IBM. The stakes were higher than ever.
Absolutely. And Gates himself was known for his meticulous code reviews. He pushed everyone to deliver perfection.
So that intense work environment that would become synonymous with Microsoft, it was already there in those early days.
Oh, yeah. It was driven by Gates's ambition, his unwavering belief in what they were doing. He had this almost messianic zeal to bring computing to the masses.
And he expected everyone around him to share that passion.
Definitely. And it paid off. MS-DOS became the industry standard. But Gates, of course, wasn't content with just an operating system. He had bigger plans.
He wanted more.
He wanted Microsoft to be the software company, the one-stop shop for everything you needed to run your computer. Applications, languages, tools. He saw the potential to build a whole ecosystem around the PC.
And that's where they start developing applications like spreadsheets and word processors. This is where we get Multiplan, their answer to VisiCalc, which was, the first killer app for personal computers.
You got it. But it's interesting because they actually faced a setback with Multiplan. Lotus 1-2-3 came along and basically blew it out of the water.
So their first big foray into the application market, and they stumbled.
They did. It was a humbling experience for Microsoft, but I think it taught them a valuable lesson.
Which was?
Adaptability. They learned that the tech world moves fast, and you can't rest on your laurels. You have to be constantly innovating, pushing the boundaries if you want to stay ahead.
So they needed to pivot, find the next big thing. What was it?
Well, this is where graphical user interfaces, GUIs, come into the picture. Gates saw a demo of the Xerox Star, this early GUI machine, and realized this is the future. This is how we're going to make computers easier to use for everyone.
So the seeds of Windows were planted.
Exactly. But Windows was a long and, let's say, colorful journey. Years of development, delays, internal conflicts. It would test Gates' leadership and the company's resilience. But that's a story for our next installment.
Okay, so last time we left off with Microsoft on the brink of a new era, the dawn of the 1990s, the rise of the internet, a world ripe for disruption. And at the helm, a visionary, albeit somewhat ruthless, leader named Bill Gates.
And the 90s were truly a wild ride for Microsoft.
I bet. So much was happening so fast. How did they keep up?
Well, I think a big part of it was their ability to adapt, to shift gears when necessary. They were never afraid to try new things, even if it meant abandoning old ones.
Like with their whole approach to the internet. Initially, they seemed to underestimate its potential. But then, they went all in.
Gates was a quick stutter. Once he realized the significance of the internet, he made it a top priority for the company.
And that's where Internet Explorer comes in.
Right, their web browser bundled with Windows. It was a brilliant, albeit controversial, move.
Controversial because, again, there were accusations of anti-competitive practices.
Yes, bundling Internet Explorer with Windows gave them a huge advantage in the browser wars, but it also raised questions about fair play.
And those coaches continued to dog them throughout the 90s, didn't they?
Yeah.
The FTC investigation was just the beginning.
They faced legal challenges, scrutiny from regulators, and criticism from competitors. It was a constant battle.
So how did they handle all that pressure? Did it change their approach at all?
Well, I think they became more aware of public perception, more careful about how their actions were perceived. They started to talk more about innovation, about customer focus.
A bit of a PR makeover.
Maybe, but they never really strayed from their core strategy, which was to win, to be the best.
And that drive to win, it led them into some pretty intense battles, like with Netscape, for example.
Oh, the browser wars were legendary. Netscape Navigator was the early leader, but Microsoft came in strong with Internet Explorer, leveraging their dominance in the operating system market.
It was a fierce rivalry, and in the end, Microsoft came out on top. But it wasn't all about competition. There were also some pretty remarkable innovations during this time.
Absolutely. Windows 95 was a game changer. It introduced a whole new way of interacting with computers, with the start menu, the taskbar, and that iconic desktop.
It was a huge leap forward, and it solidified Microsoft's position as the leader in operating systems.
And they didn't stop there. They kept pushing the boundaries with new versions of Windows, with the Office suite of applications, with their foray into gaming with the Xbox.
Microsoft became this sprawling empire, touching almost every aspect of our digital life.
And it was all driven by Gates' vision, his relentless pursuit of excellence. He demanded a lot from his employees, but he also inspired them to achieve incredible things.
It's a legacy that's still being felt today, isn't it? Microsoft remains a major player in the tech world, even as the landscape has shifted dramatically.
Absolutely. They've had their ups and downs, but they've always managed to adapt, to evolve. And who knows what the future holds for them. But one thing's for sure, it'll be interesting to watch.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. From those early days in Albuquerque, to the rise of the internet, to the battles and triumphs that shaped Microsoft into the company it is today.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really is. And for those who want to explore this story further, I highly recommend checking out the full biography, Hard Drive, Bill Gates, and the Making of the Microsoft Empire. It's a deep dive into the mind of a true visionary and the company that he built.
A company that changed the world.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.